rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the village board meeting of July 25th. Roll call.
Caprows?
Here.
Possession?
Here.
Giannotti?
Here.
Terry?
Here.
Stacy?
Here.
Kraus?
You have the minutes of last meeting in your packet. Does anyone have any changes, additions? If not, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call.
Caprows?
Yes.
Possession?
Yes.
Giannotti?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Okay, we have no village clerk work report tonight. And does anyone in the audience wish to address the board? Okay, my report, nothing is listed here. If you have noticed outside, we have a lovely brick wall with a periscope sticking out of it. That's gonna be our new sign. They did coating on the bricks this weekend, and I just spoke to the sign company tonight, and they're hoping to have it installed by the end of this week. So we created a bunch of topics of things we can put on the sign. Gonna be a little bit of a learning curve, but hopefully the end of the week, beginning of next week, we're gonna be able to start pushing some information out to the residents. So that's all I have. Finance Administration Committee, Trustee Kaporis.
Hi. Consider an ordinance providing for and requiring the submission of the proposition of issuing general obligation bonds to the voters of the village at the general election to be held on the 8th day of November 22. The ordinance is enclosed for your review. Please pay attention to the wording of the question, which we can discuss. We have to explain exactly what we're going to do with the bond proceeds, state the amount of the bonds, and a not to exceed interest rate. With the volatile economy we're in, this is a moving target, and a rate of 5.9 is used. We hope to come in lower than that, but if we do not, bond proceeds have to be used to cover the difference. So did everybody get a chance to look at the ordinance? I guess we could start with, is everybody comfortable with the amount? $3,950,000. That's what was discussed before. Everybody's good with the interest rate?
Right now, it'd be about 4.5.
Yeah.
We don't know where we're gonna be when these bonds are issued, and the way things are going.
The one thing we didn't ask is how long after the referendum's passed till they are typically sold.
That's up to us after that. It
Yeah.
takes 90 days to get an issuance done, but we determine the timeline. The referendum is good, as long as you use it for that specific purpose, the referendum is good for several years.
I mean, from my side, I have, I think no issues with it. The question seems pretty clear and covers, building the facility, equipping it. It touches on improving the site of it, so I'm not sure what else we would wanna add. It's all kinda, descriptive enough to tell people what we're doing, and give us enough, room to be able to take care of things appropriately.
This was the question they thought we should ask. They thought the word Beecher Police Department should be in there.
Yeah.
And I says, well, what if EMA's in there as well? And they said, well, who does EMA director report to? I said, chief. He said, well, that's part of the police department. It works. So you can have EMA use the facility as well.
Definitely.
And the training room that we're building for the police could be cross-used as a little boardroom or a community room, like we talked about. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it's good.
Looks good. Alright, you got an ordinance number, Mayor?
1379.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve ordinance 1379, providing for and requiring the submission of the proposition of issuing general obligation bonds to the voters of the village at the general election to be held on the 8th day of November 22.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Gianni,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Caprows,
Yes. Consider options for payment of the village's portion of Gould Street Water Main Project. The village awarded a bid of $1,228,000 to M&J Underground, approved a contract with B&W Baxter and Woodman to provide construction management for $86,000 and approved change orders, approximately $60,000 for the contaminated soil. 2 additional valves and repair of breaks on the old main during the project. The village received a grant of $967,000 for this project, which leaves a balance of village owes of $407,000 in local funds come September or October, and the final bills come in for the project. Originally, the village board approved the use of $230,000 in ARPA funds, and the remaining amount from the water main replacement account. According to the attached memo from the administrator, we have 3 options to consider. 1, keep everything as previously approved, meaning that $230 of the $604,000 in ARPA funds is committed. Do not use ARPA funds and instead deplete the water main replacement account, take the rest out of O&M and water debt service, or use the ARPA funds as originally planned and place a due to on the water main replacement account to replace those funds from the rates charged in the future. This repayment should take about 1 year. The third option would allow the Gould Street project to be covered without scrapping the water and sewer system reserves in the event of an emergency, but it would allow the village board to have the funding for future projects with the use of the ARPA funds. We're planning on having a workshop to discuss the ARPA funds, but based on these options, it would leave us with either $534 or $304 to spend. So, don't have any opinions?
If we do option 3, that the ARPA money can be used pretty much for any project we need, right?
Yes.
So that frees us up to,
So what would happen is, you'd, rather than sucking the water main replacement dry right now, the balance that'll be in October, you use the ARPA funds, you place a due to on the water main replacement account. Once the funds come in from the water main replacement account where it's still healthy, you can pay it back for the ARPA. The ARPA funds aren't gonna be used anytime soon. I mean, the board's still gotta discuss, come up with a viable project that they wanna do. By that point, by the time you move forward with it and everything else, you probably have the due to taken care of. That's kind of where my recommendation was, but we wanted to put it before the board.
sounds like the best way to do it.
Yep.
I agree, option 3 is I think the way to go.
Well, if it's only gonna take a year to replace it, I guess I just don't understand, what's gonna happen in that year that's gonna be the due to, it's gonna pay it back, that it would tax it? I mean, if we're only gonna pay it in a year, then it's really not gonna tax the
Just
system, is it? I mean,
Well, I'll tell you, things could go wrong in a real hurry.
That's right.
And we always leave money in O&M and in debt service to pay for emergencies, like if a well were to drop, you might end up spending $300,000-400,000 to fix a well if it were to go down. So we always keep that cash in reserve.
which I think is a good thing, but, I mean, if we do a due to and there's an emergency, we can't.
Then the due to can sit there for another year or 6 months or whatever it takes. When the due to is there, it's just a way for the auditors to know that the intention is for that money to come out of that fund, and it's just a clean way of doing it. It's really, there's no set date on that due to. I mean, if it takes a year, it takes a year. If it takes a year and a half, it takes a year and a half. We transfer money into water main replacement twice a year.
And if we
We still
use
do
it for
not
other
just twice a year,
projects too.
So, it kinda gives you an idea, every 6 months you've got an idea where you're at, where you'll probably be.
The other problem we have is this 407 that we know we owe could end up being 507 by the time we're done, because we're still running into problems out there. You know, I mean, just today we had one mat that's gonna cost us probably 10 grand.
Probably 10 grand, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, it was in the brand new blacktop or close to it, wasn't it?
It did not get disturbed.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Let's
So
just put
it's-
it down.
Yep.
I mean, if we, I guess no matter what option, I mean, if we didn't take to 230 and just kept it with our previous agreement, and, because, I mean, we don't know what we wanna do, we don't know what project's gonna cost,
So-
it's gonna cost a lot. But I mean, can we just use those funds,
So.
or use the funds we have instead of?
Yes, so just because you place the due to on it, you can always forgive the due to, right, and just wash it. That was done
With the
in,
park account.
with the ARPA, or with the,
Oscar.
OSLAD, right?
Requirements?
Yeah, so at one point there was a due to, from parks to general. And the board got to the point, general was healthy, we said, look, this is never gonna happen, because it was being chipped away at $9 grand a year, and it was a couple $100 grand. We just said, forget it, the project's done, it's over, and we eliminated the due to. So it's the same thing, I guess, like what you're saying, Todd, is if you come up with a project where you don't need the whole thing, maybe you only need half, maybe you eliminate the due to in half, maybe you eliminate the whole due to. But in the meantime, it just kind of is a clean way for the auditors to say, go ahead, use the ARPA funds for that, and then, based on what the board's decisions are, you can decide what you wanna do with the ARPA.
So it's basically just kind of an intention.
Well, IOU.
Which is the common limit for the auditors, I would say.
And it gives you a longer time,
I go using my life, no problem, let's go.
it gives you a longer time to decide what you wanna do with ARPA funds too.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna tell the feds to spend on water mains and get them out of the picture, at least that's true.
Alright. So we don't need a,
If you wanna make it a motion, you can, Mr. Chairman, it's up to you.
do we need to? I mean, it's already approved to use the ARPA funds.
We have our direction. To put a due to, I think to put a due to on the funds probably requires a motion.
Alright, so I'll go ahead and make a motion, go with option 3 for the payment of the village's portion of Wood Street water main. Which is to use ARPA funds as originally planned and place a due to on the water main replacement account.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call.
Caprows,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
Gianni,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
That concludes my report.
Public Buildings and Properties, Parks and Recreation Committee, trustee Giannotti.
Thank you. I'd like to consider the acceptance of a donation of land, which is vacant commercial parcel at 419 Dixie Highway. This is relatively small parcel consisting of about a half acre. It has been offered to the village in exchange for a donation letter equal to the value of an appraisal. The village would have to agree to all closing costs, but the lot has potential for various number of uses. The attorney for the donator and Tim Kuiper will be in contact to arrange the transfer unless anyone has an objection. None? Okay. The village is in the process of acquiring at no cost a 3-acre parcel located on Eagle Lake Road east of Millbury Parkway. This parcel contains a 1.5 acre retention pond for the Nantucket Cove subdivision and a 1.5 acres of dry vacant land. The pond is in essence a public improvement that cannot be sold to a third party, and the dry land has potential use for future water tower since it is one of the highest points in town. This lot has a $63,000 lien on for back taxes, but the village is arguing that this lot should have been a dedicated outlot in the beginning and it appears Will County will agree to dedicate the lot to the village. Closing costs to the county will be $801.
The zoning on the property is commercial.
And that concludes my report.
Planning, Building and Zoning Committee, trustee Stacy.
Thank you, Mayor. The village received an annexation petition for 60-acre parcel so that individual can build a single-family home on the property. We're working out the details of this annexation of the property. The owner is very confused as to how the process works. I advised him to hire an attorney to assist him in the process. Once he retains the legal counsel, we will begin discussions. He was of the opinion that the annexation, he would just subdivide the lots, enclose as a petition we received. We would keep you advised if this moves forward. The second item is the July 28th meeting. The Planning and Zoning Commission has been canceled due to lack of agenda. And last, the result of the training provided to Planning and Zoning Commission by members of the Village of Peatone. We will present by the chairman of the committee at the meeting. Well, what it was about was what we normally do with our planning and zoning meeting. This was giving you, I'll give this to you, Bob, if you want to make copies and have them distributed. How your meeting should go, what your leadway is on some things, and what happens when you carve things in stone without having a little leadway for yourself, being locked in on something. The Robert's rules that go along with the meetings on how to go through the process legally so people don't fall foul or anything like that. I mean, it was a very interesting meeting, but it was more or less the same things that it was the same things that we do here. So I mean, it was interesting. The guys talked and just, you know, it was a slideshow and everything. Bob Heim was there with me, and I felt it was pretty interesting, Bob.
Yeah, yeah, it was, it's kind of like the second thing I've been to since I've been on planning and zoning, but, it's always informative. The lawyer was a little dry, but hard to understand, but the other guy was very informative.
And that's all I have there.
Okay. Public Safety Committee, Trustee Terry.
Thank you, Mayor. Our Public Safety Committee met to discuss the procedures for hiring and recruiting full-time and part-time police officers. We met on July 20th. Some of the different things that we talked about, just look and see. So we actually took our old resolution that we had, and we made some corrections to the entire thing, and we added some stuff to it. It's actually being drafted up, and then once it gets drafted, we'll have a full copy, but we'll be looking to probably make it into an ordinance too. We thought a lot if you guys have some of the things, but basically, you know, we added some of the big things that we did is we made the committee actually from, it was the chair and then 2 members. I think the total committee was brought up to 5, where we included the chief, the village administrator, the chair, and then 2 other residents. And then some of the other things that we did that we added, we actually kind of got rid of some of the testing services, and we actually incorporated some of the different things as to what we're going to look at, what we're not looking at, as far as if they attended college and how a college degree is not going to be recommended. Or I mean, it's going to be recommended, but it's not going to be required. We talked about how the commission was going to be taking care of, you know, the applications instead of it being contracted out through a company. And you know, we actually eliminated the list that we were going to, you know, that we create, but we're keeping, we're kind of doing it, the easiest way I think to explain it is we're kind of going to put a hybrid system into place to where when it comes to doing things as far as, you know, doing an orientation and submitting your, you know, physical aptitude test and doing the psychological, we'll still have a process. We eliminated the written exam, but if the event that we want to have a written exam, we can go ahead and administer that written exam depending on, you know, if we have enough time or not. So I think the biggest thing that, as we met and when we were talking with everybody from the commission versus the committee, you know, a lot of the things that, you know, we were pressed for time. And with, like in today, you know, so many other departments had other testing, so we had a hard time trying to get into a testing agency and actually having them come in and actually perform the test and submit all this stuff. You know, it was very difficult, and so therefore we were without a list or a police officer, you know, a candidate for at least 9 months. So we're trying to, as we worked and sat down, we were trying to negotiate and work all that stuff into where we can still kind of do both. And then, let's see, trying to think, anything else? Trustee Forrest, do you think anything else that?
Yeah, so I wanna just make sure that that's clear, is that it didn't eliminate the written exam. It puts it at the discretion of the commission based on the situation. The thought process on that is, just to be clear, is that if you have a retirement coming up in a month or two, there's plenty of time to do the written exam. And I think everybody that was at the meeting could see some value in the written exam, and that there is time there. But we wanted to make it so that way it was basically like an optional thing for the commission, so that way if somebody walks in and puts their badge on the chief's desk one day and says, I'm done, I'm out of here, that you don't have to do that process if it's not desired, where you could be waiting 2 months and being at the mercy of a testing company. At that point, you could skip that process if you chose to do a lateral process or whatever. One other thing I wanted to clear up that you brought up was the 2 additional residents. Thought process on that was that, just to kind of clean that up, the previous resolution stated that it would be 2 members of the public safety committee, and being one of those members right now, I don't think I'd be a valuable person on the police commission. So that what that did was just kind of changing that to village resident. That gives the mayor then more flexibility, that it doesn't have to be the co-chair on the public safety committee, that it could be another trustee, it could be a resident, whatever it may be. It's completely at the discretion of the mayor. It's their appointment, and we just kind of wanted to give them that flexibility there. And, other than that, I think the rest of it, we'll see what the attorney gets back to us. I think it was just basically just some language, whereas it was just basic language of changing shall to may, you know, that the commission shall conduct a written test. You know, it's as simple as changing a word to the commission may conduct written tests in the process. Other than that, I think it was just some minor verbiage changes, but I think Joe's right, it's
We're
pretty.
putting part-timers in.
And I was gonna say, that's the other
Yes.
big part that we did too, was just the part-timers now will be going through the same process as
Yeah.
the full-timers were.
Which we have been doing, it's just not.
It wasn't
the
in
ordinance.
Right,
section.
wasn't.
And then I think we're also gonna be adding, eventually, as this gets worked on, there'll be an additional chapter for, process for laterals, and, yeah, that's it.
I think the issue here is that we have very different times right now than we did when I think the commission rules were first written right now. Few people want to be police officers, and now all the departments are fighting to take people from other departments like we did to Pieto, frankly, you know, and nobody wants to be a police officer anymore. So what our procedure was not reflected in the policy, in the old policy. Hopefully it will be in the new ordinance that we do, or it gives us the ability to do what we did recently. So I think our effort is to follow the guidelines that we provided in the past.
Is there gonna be anything in there about promotions?
I believe there was a chapter that was gonna be put in there for promotions.
I know we discussed a chapter 4 for laterals, I don't remember discussing that, but I think trustee Kraus has got,
I don't think we discussed the promotion.
no, we didn't.
No, I don't think we did.
I think that's,
If it's gonna be an ordinance, and like, which it honestly should be, I think there should be some kind of standard in there for promotion.
yep,
we
yep, I
handled-
think that should be another chapter.
Yeah, we handled that in the past that way.
I know
So-
it's talking
Yeah,
about
but it's just,
the
it was never written anywhere.
Yeah,
I don't
chapter
remember promotions,
three-
we just- that's
Chapter
what we
3
did.
handled original new hires,
Yeah.
and that was the end of it. So we had discussed a chapter 4 to handle laterals, but I think
And
that's a
chapter
great
5
point.
was part-timers.
Yeah, I think Todd's got on with that, and I think there should be another chapter to discuss promotions and have that laid out, the process and that.
And like the chief said, when we created this, it was, we planned on doing testing and having lists, and I mean, now it's feast or famine, so we just don't have time to do that stuff anymore all the time. So, gotta do what's best for the town.
Okay, so we'll work on that, and then, you guys will see that as it
It's
comes
gonna
out.
take a little while, because once we get a first draft for the committee to review, then we gotta give it to corporate counsel to actually
We're
put
gonna
an
have it this
ordinance
week.
form.
He said we're gonna have it this week.
Oh, we are?
He called me.
Well, I think we should pass that on to the rest of the board too, and just.
Before we even give it to corporate counsel?
Well, the more eyes, the better, right? I mean, if there's something that a majority of the board's looking to see in it, you know, why send it and pay the money to send it to corporate
Okay.
counsel?
Bring
And
it
then
back and
have
to
it back,
redo
and then, you know, majority of the board actually gets the chance to see it and go, well, no, we thought it was gonna be like this.
And I
Then
have
you're
a
sending it
feeling
back to council again.
corporate counsel probably won't have to change a lot,
No,
because it's being worked on by an attorney now, so.
and like I said, a lot of it is just strike this word, you know, change it from 5 to 3, you know, change quorum from 2 to 3. You know, change that word may to, you know, or that word shall to may, it's
I
not.
mean, I've got a lot of this stuff, it's my chicken scratch, but if anybody wants to take a look, we're more than happy to go over it.
Yeah.
Okay, so also, we've got, our plans for National Night Out, which is gonna be August 2nd, this Tuesday. Chief, you wanna give an update on that?
Sure, it's gonna be from 5 to 8 at Fireman's Park. We are gonna have, hot dogs, hamburgers, soda, water, hopefully ice cream. We're gonna have 3 jumpies, a face painter, a DJ, karate demonstration, a dunk tank, and trustees, Giannotti and Stacy have already agreed to go in there, as well as Bob Heim and, Roger Simple. And we're hoping to get the code enforcement officer, because they'll draw the most attention, I think.
Yes,
Uh,
make some money off me.
And Mayor, could we possibly get that on the new sign this week? About the
Depends
national
on when,
night?
if
It
it's
could be the first
installed,
thing.
and we can put that
Yeah,
up.
The
as a first
National Night Out,
thing,
Chief,
yeah.
Chief, the National Night Out get us a sign too? When we registered for National Night Out this year, did they mail out a big banner? It's like a purple banner?
We registered a long time ago, I don't remember getting the banner.
I should came, okay.
And, I think we have enough volunteers right now, so we're doing pretty good, but we can always use more if anybody wants to help. Grill, great.
You're gonna have,
Dunk, was that the dunk tank?
No,
Also, two Dunkin' Donuts will be there.
Oh, wonderful.
With the thing, with their,
and you're gonna have police equipment on display, public works equipment, fire equipment,
Yep.
yep.
hopefully the weather will be good.
Okay, and then also too, I was gonna bring this up during old business, but I'll do it now. With our bike rodeo, I forgot to mention that, at our last meeting, I'd like to thank Roger, Stacy, and Corporal Sipple for coming on out. I kinda think, and, yeah, well, all of EMA was there. But I think, you know, I know we like to do it on the July date. I'll give you my opinion on it, and this is just my opinion, but I kinda like to have it on another date, only because, to me, I think it's a community outreach for the police department to reach out with the kids, and, you you know, with them working the festival till 3 o'clock in the morning, and then us being there at 6:30 in the morning trying to stripe it all out, there was not, you know, nowhere near as many officers as I was hoping for. So, I don't know, Chief, any thoughts, or anything from the guys? And I know a couple of the guys wanted to come, but, you know, they didn't.
Can you incorporate it into the night out? Not obviously this year, but the following year?
Oh, yeah, we could.
Well, the original purpose of the bike safety radar was to get the kids ready for the summer season, so the later you push it back, you know, it's to reinforce the rules of the road on the kids early in the biking season.
It definitely helped changing it. I mean, the last time it was done, there was like a dozen participants, and there was like, how many, 30 or 40 of them?
40.
Well, we still had them coming at, because they were still coming in at 12:30.
But what I'm saying though is, it had typically always been done in June, and that was one of the reasons why we brought it up, is that if it came into play so much with baseball, t-ball, softball,
Okay.
and
We'll call it a
other
back to
kids'
school
activities.
bicycle training.
Yeah, it just,
We may have
it
to do
worked.
it-
I mean, you went from getting about a dozen participants to 40 something.
We may have to
So-
do it at a different time, only because, you know,
Just don't
that
go.
takes up the whole parking lot for, you know, the fire
I think-
department.
And
Yeah.
myself, Emerson and Sippo were the only three officers, they were in plain clothes, because they were doing all striping and all that. You know,
But yeah, a different date, maybe in August or something, maybe.
It's just that
More
that baseball runs till right
July.
about the, to the, you know, so. As long as you avoid that season, I think you get the participation, but the kids are tied up on Saturdays doing that stuff. And when you try to do it on a Saturday morning in that season, you just don't get the
And when you
participation.
get into August, you start with soccer. So
But
July
that's
might
not
not
on-
be the one.
Yeah, those games are on Saturday
Mantino
mornings.
Youth Soccer League.
Yeah, that starts up in September.
Yeah.
Games start. but
Maybe do it
practice
the week
is in
after the
August.
4th. Week after, 2 weeks after, when people aren't, because they're not spending money to do that, so everyone's kinda spent, but something like that, they might come out for.
That's just my opinion, I don't know what the rest of the department thought about it, or, I mean, like I said, I know a couple of the guys wanted to come, but.
The majority of the kids were really small kids, a lot of them came on trikes, so I don't think they had other activities planned, you know, because they're small, like your
Yeah.
daughter, you know, your daughter's age.
Yeah.
So,
But other than that, I think it was great outreach.
yeah, we'll do whatever, the board wants, whatever day you want, we'll make it happen.
Well, you got a year to figure it out. No need to hammer it out right now.
All right, okay, well, that concludes my report.
All right, Public Works Committee, trustee Kraus.
Water billing registers enclosed for review. Prior to all the water main breaks, we have a pump to bill ratio of 69.81%. And a pump to unaccounted for water of 74.83%.
If I may, that's supposed to be a pump to accounted for water of 74.83.
Correct.
Because I didn't know what that meant, so.
Yeah. Basically, what that's telling you is that the bills go out are accounting for 69.81% of the water that we've pumped. That's the money that we're gonna bring back in from the water billing. The 74.83 is an overall total. So the difference there is from the splash pad, the village hall, public works facility, police department, things like that, the stuff that we own that we don't charge ourselves for money. It's accounted for water, we know where it went, we just don't charge for it, obviously, so, well, just a quick explanation on that.
And water main breaks.
Some of it, yeah, so we have been doing with the construction, been doing a lot of, filling from our, public works facility on these, directional bore machines and vac trucks and things like that, I mean, we got 3 or 4 fills a day that's taking thousands of gallons out of us, so all that's been accounted for in here as well. So, yeah, we try to judge the water main breaks on what we think is going out, just what our normal runs are at the wells on a 24-hour period to what we see the day after a main break of, we just kind of compare that to previous stuff, so.
Thanks.
Yep.
Consider payment in the amount of $182,572.60 to Brant Excavating as a progress payment in the lead service line replacement program, pending receipt of IEPA loans. See enclosed material. So I'll make a motion, make a payment in the amount of $182,572.60 to Brant Excavating as a progress payment on the lead service line replacement program pending receipt of IEPA loan funds.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion, roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
And a briefing on the water main breaks, let's say the cluster of breaks the last 2 weeks.
So after the last board meeting we had I was on vacation, I don't recall if it was Tuesday or Wednesday, but we had a boring company working for AT&T on Penfield and Woodward that hit one of our marked cross connections for the hydrant stub, dropped our system pressure down to 22 psi, and instantly all 4 of our wells kicked on with the booster pumps and kicked us up to almost 70 psi within a matter of about 45 seconds. What that does is causes a major water hammer. We have since had 6 breaks that we are assuming, we're very confident, and that has been direct relation to that. We had a 7th today that I believe is part of the construction on Gould Street. I don't think it was part of that, but we lost a little over 1.5 million gallons just by these 6 main breaks. We had 1 break go undetected for about 5 hours, and it just flooded out. It was up there on Gould Street, where the road was closed. There was no traffic going through, so nobody caught it. And it was flooding out the grain elevator parking lot, which nobody was visiting, so.
The alarms didn't go off because when it broke, 2 pumps were running.
We were in a fill cycle at the time, so we had 2 wells already running, so it just maintained system pressure for 4 hours. So we never got an alarm on it or anything like that. So we lost approximately 400, just over 400,000 gallons with that break there. So what we've done with some of these is the ones up on Gould Street, like tonight, this will be our 2nd break just on this short section within the last week, right on the corner of Gould and Indiana. We're starting to cap off these sections that aren't being used, that are being eliminated in the water main replacement project. So like tonight, M&J capped the Indiana water main line because nobody's being fed off of it, so we eliminated it. Even though the new main is not online yet, we eliminated the old line, so that way we won't have, at least we won't have problems there. It's not saying we're not gonna have problems somewhere else, but we're not gonna have problems there again, so.
But the bad news with that is the only cross connection we have is Penfield Street between these 3.
Which we've had three on when they were doing the construction on Penfield. Since they've moved off of Penfield, it's been quiet. Knock on wood again, Trustee Capros, if you would please. It's been quiet there, so we got a few more weeks. I'm kind of jumping ahead here with the Gould Street Water Main project update that goes along with that. They're looking at 3 to 4 weeks until they're completely done. Indiana Avenue will be open tomorrow morning. They did get their asphalt work done today, and the company that they're using for the road safe, or whichever it is that are providing the barricades for them, are coming between 1 and 3 a.m. tonight to remove the barricades. So Chief, if you want to let your guys know, getting around that side of town will be a little easier. Gould Street's still going to be a mess for, like I said, 3 or 4 weeks, but they're getting there. So it's moving along, costing us more and more money, but there's hopefully an end in sight.
But we knew this could happen.
Yeah,
We knew this is the oldest pipe in town, we were gonna have problems.
right.
With the drilling that they were doing with AT&T.
Yeah.
I noticed they were drilling on the sidewalk, and then they patched that stuff with asphalt. Are they planning on redoing the sidewalks there, or what are they?
Yeah, they would have to. The reason, and that's kind of one of the issues that we've had, or that we have with the entire thing. They brought their vac truck in, which what they call potholing. We marked the water services as well as the water main. They potholed all of the water services that they were going over, but for whatever reason they didn't do the water mains that they were crossing, and that's how they struck one of our water mains. So what you're seeing there with the little squares, I think they're like a foot by a foot, that are backfilled. Yes, those will be eventually backfilled with concrete. I don't know when. We don't really have much relation with them besides when they hit our stuff. You know, with all we do is locate for them. We don't really have much communication with them outside of that. But Yeah, usually those companies are pretty good with repairing stuff back to the way it was originally, so.
You gotta remember, it's all gonna get ripped out again anyway. pretty
Yeah, and I know they're not done with their project because their machine's still sitting outside the back drive for the elementary school back there. It's been sitting over an open hole for a week or so now, so I know they're not done.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, 3?
Well 3's back online. The variable speed drive for the VFD is in place. Austin Electric did the programming on it, and that was done last Tuesday or Wednesday as well. It seems like everything's running well with that. So should be back in business there.
Lead service line?
All of the lead services have been complete. The replacements have been complete. Concrete and asphalt is currently being worked on and should be done here within the next week or so. This is a message for the residents that are listening. The sod or grass seed restoration work has been halted due to the heat and will resume in September or October when the temperatures drop and it's easier to maintain the grass. So that's all I have with that.
American flags remain up through town. I guess in the past they've come down after the 4th of July. Superintendent wants to know if they should stay up. They do run the risk of being damaged if they stay up. But I agree with what this says. It's a nice feature. I don't think they should come down anytime soon. Does anybody want them to come down?
No, I think it'd be
Good
nice if you just left them up through Labor Day.
Yeah,
Labor
Labor
Day,
Day.
they should basically run Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Easy enough. We lost 8 this weekend, so
for the storm?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we took 8 of them down today. But
That's gonna happen.
yeah. I mean, it's all part of it. So
That's all I have.
Okay. Economic Development and Community Relations Committee, trustee session.
Thank you very much. First off, committee to meet on Wednesday, August 3rd with various other nonprofit groups in town to discuss the proposed Christmas and Beecher weekend, which would include our tree lighting ceremony. So right now we have the Beecher Lions, the Chamber of Commerce, the Washington Township has expressed interest in joining. I think we've also contacted the Fire Protection District, but are waiting to hear back. And then once we have that meeting, we'll have a better idea on what kind of activities might be on the docket and, how we can work together.
Yeah, maybe the Beecher School District too, because I think their high school, their band plays at our.
Yeah. They did last year.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know that we necessarily need to have everybody at this first meeting, because we don't want to have maybe too many cooks in the kitchen. But for some people like those guys, and, obviously, we want to involve the churches in it as well. And so once we have a good idea on what types of activities we're gonna host, we can see how we can fit everybody in.
So I guess, what's the purpose of the meeting? Just like to include people, or is this like, are they joining in? Because this is a village,
Well,
like sponsored event, so
take it.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we can
I mean,
collaborate.
I'm not
this-
saying no,
yeah.
I mean, obviously we want community involvement,
Sure.
this is for the community, but this is something that we're doing as. the
Well,
board
there's the
decided and
tree
the village
lighting,
did.
which is the community, is like our village event. And then, we, historically, you have items like, say, like the Beecher Lions doing the breakfast with Santa, the Fire Protection District does their Santa parade. So, I think the idea is to see how can we work together to maybe make more of an event out of everything. And I've heard, some discussion that there might be some interest in doing some additional events, but that's kind of up to be seen right now. So I guess I see it more as an opportunity for collaboration.
Yeah, cause I know, in talking to some of the Lions members, they had asked about when we were planning on doing the tree lighting, to see if they could line it up with breakfast with Santa.
So they just wanna coordinate their activities.
Exactly, and
Okay.
with the fire department supplying, getting Santa to the park and all that stuff, it'd be easier to get everyone in a room to kinda go over some of that stuff as well. And with their parade, maybe we could work that out to be the same weekend and kinda get more people to come down to the park. If they didn't get to see Santa go by their house, you can come see Santa at the park, type deal.
When do we need to meet for the bonfire portion of that day?
That's another thing that we're gonna discuss at that meeting.
And I don't know if you know this, but I don't know if it's still around or not, but the youth commission used to have a very big mailbox for letters to Santa. for the kids to be able to bring letters to Santa. It was really nice, the big one, and it had stickers on it for
Junior
the
high.
commission, it was
Yeah.
Oh,
really
I don't know
nice.
if it ever got transferred over to Public Works when I was transferring all the
It
stuff.
might be in that container, I don't know what's in it.
Yeah, I'll ask them, they just did a, inventory of all their stuff when they were moving everything.
Yeah, I mean, that was.
Santa had a big throne too, if I remember right, didn't he have a big chair?
Yeah, that was at the PD, and
We did it last year.
I don't know if it made its way back to the PD.
I think that's.
I remember it got loaded into the chief's truck, I think.
It's up at the Public Works.
Oh, is that where it is?
Oh, was that your
Yeah,
truck you
mine.
loaded it into?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's at the hut, I think, isn't it?
yes.
Excellent. Okay, moving on. Elected official economic development training is scheduled for Tuesday, August 23rd, from 7:30 to 11:30 at the Frankfurt Village Hall, and is sponsored by the Will County CED. Village president, clerk, and chairman of the committee attended this event last year, so there's an enclosed flyer. I would say it's probably open to anyone that wants to join. I
Yeah,
would say I would
trustee
attend.
Stacy already signed
Yeah.
up to go.
Okay.
So,
I will plan to attend as well. I haven't RSVP'd to you yet, but
well, if you RSVP to me, I'll go ahead and get it registered, and then we'll arrange for a carpool for you guys again.
excellent.
Yeah, I may be able to go, it just depends on whether my employees.
I can't guarantee you it's gonna be a lot different than what you saw last year, I just don't know.
Yeah, that's why I was kinda,
Yeah,
like, it's not
because you
gonna be
guys went
different
last
than-
year, got
yeah.
your certificate.
so if it's the same, then
I'm not sure, I didn't see the agenda for the, who's speaking and what have you.
do you think there's any chance to get it in advance?
I will look at.
Okay. I'll hold off on the RSVP then. We'll see.
I'll try to, depending on, so.
Okay, just send me an email. You want me to put you down?
No, well, I mean, I wanna see what they're doing first.
Okay.
Okay.
It's like catches my eye.
I think there was something in the packet here, wasn't
I thought I remember seeing, yeah,
There's a page here.
there was like a brochure or something, it's all the way at the end.
Yeah. The Nycor and the comment stuff seems pretty familiar.
Well, if Doug Pryor is speaking, it will be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a very good speaker.
Yeah, and I see he's the scheduled presenter.
This is our schedule.
ComEd's gonna speak, DCEO and Nycor.
Yeah. So I mean, that does seem fairly similar to last time. But yeah, anybody else that's interested, of course, let Bob know. Lastly, the fall newsletter is fast approaching, so as usual, looking for ideas for articles of interest.
I got a ton. I got a ton.
Oh, sounds good. I have at least
Awesome.
two. I figure for one, we're gonna be close to the referendum. So some sort of fact sheet on that seems like a obvious answer. I also thought we could include in this one, since at this point the concert series is gonna be over. First off, maybe a small thank you to the residents for attending the concerts and some way of soliciting feedback from them on the concert. I don't know if that'd be like a, I don't know, whether just an email thing or a survey of some
Survey monkey?
sort, yeah.
It actually worked out really well, so. We used Survey Monkey for the 4th of July.
Yeah.
We actually got some responses, they were good, so.
Yeah, so I think that would be very nice. Help guide us in the next one.
Yeah, some band suggestions or something like that.
Yeah, what people like, what they didn't like, so.
I had those, I had the LED sign, highlight that,
Oh, that's a good one.
highlight the splash pad with pictures and stuff that, how much of a success it was.
Yeah.
And then, Christmas activities, Christmas tree, lighting,
Oh, that's actually a very solid idea,
and whatever
Yeah.
else you coordinate.
because we'll have some good info for them at that point.
What time approximately, when does it go out?
Mid-October.
Did we ever start highlighting employees or anything?
We did the chief,
We did a chief,
we did the interview with the chief.
in the last one.
In the last one?
I mean, if we do another one, another member of our fire department. Same with
Maybe an EMA director?
Huh?
Maybe an
EMA
EMA director?
EMA director.
Code enforcement?
Code enforcement.
And yes.
I think everybody knows the code enforcement officer.
No, not.
EMA director would be fine, we can feature the Bob Hine, the director, and the.
Yeah, the whole, yeah.
So you want me to do EMA then? Alright. Same, do I say the
And
same?
maybe,
How much room am I gonna have?
maybe an introduction to the new,
New employee.
yeah,
We're actually gonna have two, aren't we?
Yeah, we're gonna have two, cause all.
We got the Peatone guy and then the
yeah,
Chicago.
any new, basically any new hires that,
Yeah,
So
since
now
the
I,
last one.
so I got a half a page for EMA and a half a page for the two police officers. Okay.
We'll make it work.
After that,
We'll just sell more ads, have a bigger newsletter, come out like a book.
Maybe a little
Saturday
bio
Night
on Joe
Post.
Terry,
jeez. Alright, we got it. Working
man
on
of
it.
myth.
Look out, Bob, you're gonna be a rock star. I don't know if I can make you a Harley guy, but.
Sounds good, so anyways, thank you very much, and that concludes my report.
alright. Any old business to come before the board?
When's the next concert?
That'd be August 6th. August 6th.
And there's one August.
Your big one.
No, not the sixth, the following week.
It's 14th.
Oh, yeah.
14th.
Yeah. 6th and 14th.
Is that it? Any new business to come before the board? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Alright, there's a motion and a second, roll call.
Caprows,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Stacy, Kraus.
Yes.
So
House
chief,
goes burning rubber
you know
out
what
the
I,
door.
you know